picking the right migration strategy. So, I mean, in that, like, there will be 5 R's. So in that, we'll be having a rehost, refactor, re-architect, rebuild, and replace. So rehost is like the fastest way to move to cloud, like with minimal challenges. Like we are lifting something and then shifting something to Azure cloud. And refactor is consist of using all platform as a service, which I mentioned earlier, like Azure Functions, Azure App Service, and those things to optimize to cloud. And the re-architect, so we'll be helping organization to redesign their existing legacy applications to leverage the cloud native advantages like auto scaling and all the new capabilities. And rebuild, so we'll be helping the customer to build a new application for the optimized cloud. And replace, like we'll be providing suggestions to client to get rid of their legacy system and providing the SaaS solution that is offering by Microsoft Azure. And I mean, like, instead of managing their infrastructure by themselves, so it'll help companies to adopt the SaaS solution. So it will be free for them to, like, they don't need to manage the infrastructure anymore.
Yeah, and with respect to this strategy, right? This strategy is not just go with just one strategy. This is always, it's going to be a permutation and combination of all these fives. For the customer that we discussed about, the educational customer, we basically gave a rehost and a refactor first, and as an phased approach. So one of the important best practices that we learned and we have seen, which helped a lot of customer, is a phased approach. What is phased approach? Phased approach is basically going, breaking down the overall migration journey into different phases and breaking down that into the logical milestones that helps us solve the immediate problem, at the same time, help us achieve the overall vision of the migration journey. So in this case, we have advised the customer to exit out of the VMware data center because the pricing difference and the terms in which they have to extend their licenses, because if they're going to extend for a year, the cost is little gets in the pricey end. And if they're going to go for 3 years, and again, it's going to give a stop to their cloud innovation journey. It's going to be a barrier in the innovation journey. So what we have to basically suggest to customer is just go with a rehost. Within the 3 months, we have given them an clear estimate on how we are going to rehost. So we have migrated all the workloads directly lift and shift from their on-premises to cloud. That's the first stop. That's the first win to cut down the existing data center and also reduce the overhead license cost. That help customer to do the first step of the phased migration. And after which, we have to identify the list of, they had a bunch of applications, starting from the one I mentioned, which had a custom developed source code repository, for which we have to suggest replace. So each and every, we have to go into a detailed inventory and assessment for each application and give them a strategy on one of these 5 Rs. So the approach for the custom source code repository is cutting down, replace it with GitHub or Azure DevOps. In their case, we went with Azure DevOps because their use case is, having Azure boards in place, having, Scrum and Agile project management boards in place. So we have to help them move to Azure boards and Azure DevOps for their DevOps pipeline. So we replaced that with the SaaS version of DevOps solution. And their application, we have to re-architect from scratch to go with Azure serverless platform, which comprises of Azure EKS, Azure AKS, and Azure ACS, and also Azure Container Apps. So we'll have a separate webinars to talk about the in-depth details of how this migration is already happening, what is Azure Kubernetes service, how it can help us to decentralize the application structure and all those things. But I just want to throw some light on how the strategy and a phased migration approach will actually work.